The Edward Cabrera injury news is absolutely devastating.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. I'm a diehard Marlins fan, and I've podcasted about the team for the last 4 seasons. You can find me on X at Jeremiah Geiger 2, and thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel, leave a like, and leave a comment. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets right now. And on today's show, we're going to talk about the unfortunate, devastating gut punch of Edward Cabrera landing on the injured list, and his elbow sprain might lead to Tommy John surgery. We're waiting for an MRI, but we have to talk about the ramifications of this, as well as a positive. Thomas White getting promoted to AAA, one step away now from the major leagues and being a Marlin, a Miami Marlin. Clayton McCullough was fired up in yesterday's game. I gained a lot of respect for him and sticking up for his players. We're going to talk about that situation. That's all coming up later. But the news of the hour, the unfortunate, devastating news that I have to talk about is Edward Cabrera and his elbow sprain, and it's not looking good. Marlins insider Craig Mish replied to a tweet yesterday in terms of the timetable, because the future is murky now for Edward Cabrera. And Craig Mish said they have to wait for the MRI. But the majority of the time, this designation leads to Tommy John surgery. Not always, but most of the time. In my opinion, his season is over and next season to be determined. Yikes, as Craig Mish would say. That's going to end Cabrera's career resurgence, his breakout season in which he was the Marlins' best, most consistent pitcher all season long. 24 starts, a career high 128 and 2/3 innings, an ERA of 3.57. He set a career low in walks per 9, just under 3 walks per 9. In comparison, the last season, his walks per 9, 4.67. The year before, 5.96. If you've watched Cabrera throughout his Marlins career, you know that the walks were always an issue. He solved that issue this season. He showed the ability to go deep into games. His stuff was nastier than ever. He's got the changeup, the devastating curveball that hitters just can't time up, just can't make good contact of. And he's still got a really good sinker. He put it all together. He realized his potential from a former top Marlins prospect to somebody that, was the poster boy for, well, he's talented, but he's never put it together. He struggles with the control. This season, when his back was against the wall and everybody was doubting him, including myself, he proved us all wrong. And for those of you who always believed that Edward Cabrera would be a good major league starter, all the credit in the world to you. Because I didn't see this coming, and I'm thrilled that we saw this. But it's disappointing now. The season's going to come to an end as we're here in early September, and now as we're waiting for the MRI results, like Craig said, if he has to undergo Tommy John surgery, this is a huge blow to the Marlins rotation. I mean, I had Edward Cabrera penciled in as one of the aces. Yes, I said aces, alongside Yuri Perez and a rejuvenated Sandy Alcantara heading into 2026. That would be a rotation spearheaded by those three in particular that could lead this team into the playoffs, into the wild card conversation. and take another step forward in this rebuild. The one caveat to all of this, of course, is when you have pitching and your core or your core and your hope of making the postseason is built around pitching, which in the Marlins case, I think it is because they're a pitching factory. I always refer to the Marlins as a pitching factory, and it's true. They find gems. Jansen Junk, Thomas White. We're going to talk about him. I think he's the best prospect in all of baseball. But when you're a pitching-centric organization, the one downfall that you can have is injuries. You can do your best to avoid them. You can get in the weight room. You can have expert nutritionists, dietitians, your strength coaches, training regimens. But when it comes to the elbow, that's a very, very tough thing to deal with. We see this all the time. Cabrera, assuming he undergoes Tommy John surgery, I'm not going to flat out say he will, but for the sake of this episode and preparing for it, it sounds like it's likely. That's terrible. You're without your most consistent starter now. This season, it's a wash. Obviously you want to see him finish on a high note, but you're not making the playoffs. But 2026, if you're without Cabrera the entirety of next year, oh man, that's a gaping hole in that rotation now. Here's where I'm going to combat a certain narrative that I've seen floating around, though. I've seen on Twitter specifically a lot of Marlins fans say Edward Cabrera should have been traded at the deadline. Peter Bendix had an opportunity to sell high on Cabrera, and now he's injured. I don't want to hear it. I'm not going to take part in that discourse because I think it's just plain wrong. Number one, Peter Bendix can't predict the future. Last time I checked, he doesn't have a crystal ball in his office sitting there and deciphering what's going to happen 2 months from the trade deadline at that time. Come on. That's not reality. Number two, selling high on Cabrera. If you want to look at it at that situation, go ahead. I respect Peter Bendix for not selling low on Cabrera. We don't know what offers he was receiving. We don't know the phone calls that the Cubs and the Red Sox and these potential suitors for Eddie that were rumored to have interest in him at the time. We don't know those offers. So for Peter Bendix to not trade Cabrera tells me that, number one, he believes in him as a pitcher and he stood his ground. I believe in Edward Cabrera. The metrics back it up. Say what you want about the 2024 season, the 2023 season, the track record of inconsistency. Every single week was an opportunity for Edward Cabrera to fall back into his old habits, to go back to the 4 1/3 innings pitcher with a pitch count of 96 and walking 5. And it didn't happen. He dominated. And yeah, there were a couple blips on the radar. Yeah, he struggled. So does everybody. Overall, it was awesome. So to sit here and say, well, we should have traded him, hindsight's 2020. I don't want to trade Cabrera. Even if he stayed healthy the rest of the season, in the offseason, I'd be mad. I would be angry if the Marlins traded him because I view him as an important piece of the future, not just somebody that can be used as trade bait, healthy or not. Hindsight's 2020. We get that. You can have your opinion at the time. Hey, the Marlins should have traded him, but I expect you to continue saying that over the last 2 months or last month. We're a month away from the trade deadline. My point being, you can't say we should have traded him just because he got injured. That's not how the world works. Nobody knew Edward Cabrera was going to get injured. And if he's healthy, he's one of the best pitchers, if not the best pitcher on this Marlins staff. So I'm happy we kept him. The injury news is terrible. We're going to wait. We're going to wait and see. I'm holding out for a glimmer of hope that it's not going to require Tommy John. Is it likely? Probably not. But there's no change in my attitude toward this situation. I'm glad we kept him. I would have wanted to keep him in the offseason. And I would have wanted to keep him in 2026, even if the Marlins are under 500, which I still think they have the capability to be hovering around 500 next season at the deadline. But I never viewed Cabrera as a must-trade candidate, as somebody that you're proactively offering to other teams. We're at the point in the rebuild now for the Marlins where you have to start building. We did the teardown in 2024. We traded a third of the roster. Now it's about building and establishing the core, and Edward Cabrera is part of that. The injury is going to take him out of the equation, at least for next year, if he goes under Tommy John, if he goes under the knife. But this hindsight and thinking about what could have happened, there's no purpose in that. Speaking of really good pitchers, as I talked about Edward Cabrera, the Marlins have arguably the best pitching prospect in all of baseball, and he just got promoted to AAA. That's one step away from the major leagues. I'm going to talk about Thomas White right after this. With football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. PrizePicks is quick, it's easy, and it's a great way to follow along with your favorite team or just watching football in general. And the best part with PrizePicks is that if one of your picks misses, PrizePicks has a flex play, so you can still make money even when you're not perfect. So guys, if you're interested in making some money this football season, having some fun with fantasy sports, download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. I appreciate the everyday listeners who make listening or watching to Locked On Marlins part of your daily routine. For those on the YouTube channel, you'll notice I'm adjusting the setup a little bit. I got the Locked On Marlins podcast logo on the TV behind me, and soon I'm going to have a big Marlins flag right on that back wall. I'm excited for the new setup. I think it's going to enhance the viewing the viewing entertainment value and just be more Marlins on this podcast. And I got a surprise on the flag. So there's a few logos in Marlins history. I'll let you think about which flag I got from MLB Shop. Thomas White got promoted to AAA. It was announced on the broadcast yesterday against the Nationals. A surprise and also a well-deserved promotion for who I consider the best left-handed prospect and the best pitching prospect in all of baseball. Let's take a look at some of these numbers that Thomas White was throwing up this season in AA. So Thomas White in AA made 10 starts, 45 and a third innings. He had an ERA of 1.59 against AA competition, a FIP of 2.22. So not a huge discrepancy there. You know, you take the fielding out of the equation, Thomas White's still elite. He struck out 14.3 batters per 9, an elite strikeout rate. Now the walks, you'd like to see the walks come down a little bit, just a tad, 4.59 walks per 9, but this guy's incredible. This guy is just incredible. If you listened to the interview I had with Marlins prospect Carson Milbrandt, who is teammates with Thomas in Beloit, Carson is just amazed by him as well. That guy is so good, and his fellow teammates notice him and know how good he is, that he's going to be a big leaguer. They view him as a big leaguer because he's just so dominant. It's insane what he can do on the mound. If you haven't listened to that interview with Carson Milbrandt, I encourage you to check it out. It's on the YouTube channel and on all the other podcast platforms out there as well. What this means for the Marlins and Thomas White, he's right there. He's on the cusp of making his major league debut, and he's going to get a handful of starts in AAA to close out the season, I expect. And then in 2026, spring training, that's exciting because now you're going to have multiple studs competing for the opening day rotation. Is there a chance that Thomas White makes the opening day rotation? I think there is, because who's to say he gets a cup of coffee at the AAA level, a big jump from AA to AAA. And if he continues to do his thing to dominate hitters, let's see, we're early September, gets 3, 4, 5 starts, handful of starts to close the year, finishes on a high note, heads to the Grapefruit League next February, and he shows out there, then the Marlins are going to have a hard time justifying leaving him off of the opening day rotation in terms of talent alone. Do I think he cracks the opening day rotation next season? Not necessarily, just because of the experience level. And I think the organization would want to give him a few more starts in AAA to start the year, but I don't think it's going to be a long wait. I also think of service time, and I'm not exactly sure how the situation is for Thomas White and service time manipulation and all that. I think it's April, mid-April. If you know in the comments, just type it out for those wondering as well, because service time manipulation is just something I don't really like. I understand why organizations do it. You want to give your best prospect, or you want to keep your best prospects for as much time as possible. But for the fan and for the organization and the team who wants to win, sometimes it feels counterintuitive. If you have a chance to win and compete, you want your best. I think the Cubs did that with Kris Bryant back in the day. Of course, in 2024, you had Max Meyer and that whole situation with sending him down to the minor leagues, calling him back up after a while when it was clear that he was, at that point, he was ready. And I think Max Meyer is a conversation for a different time. But a lot of organizations do this. I'm thinking you got the Pirates, who just didn't call up Bubba Chandler until the end of August. And that might be a little bit different, because although the media portrayed Bubba Chandler as major league ready, I still think there were some command issues that he had to work through at the minor league level. But my point is, if you're good, you're good. If you're great, you're great. And I think Thomas White can be great at the major league level and contribute to the Marlins and be a part of the future of this team, part of the future of this rotation, especially with Edward Cabrera potentially being out for the remainder of this season and the end of 2020, or the entirety of 2026. Like I said, that there's going to be a major hole in that rotation. Who's going to step up and fill it? Robbie Snelling is waiting in the wings in AAA. He got promoted from AA to AAA, has done nothing but dominate. He's ready. Same kind of situation though with him, with the service time. I could see a scenario in which both of these prospects don't crack the opening day roster, and the fans are going to be upset about it because they just dominate Grapefruit League play. Maybe they don't, and they need some more tune-ups. and more reps at the minor league level. But the talent, especially for Thomas White, it just jumps off the chart. He's so darn good, just strikes out everyone. I go back to this particular outing a few weeks back against in AA against Knoxville. 5 innings, 14 strikeouts. You're telling me that one out was all he needed to go strikeout for 5 innings. He was just 1 out away. It's incredible. He's really, really good. Coming up next, we're going to talk about Clayton McCullough. I have gained some respect for Clayton. I've been tough on him on this show in terms of his decision making, and also I haven't felt the passion and fire and energy from him that I want to see from the skipper. But in yesterday's game, Clayton was fired up. We're going to talk about him right after this. Hey, Marlins fans, are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited time promo code SEASON and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You could make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you already needed in the first place. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes. And for you, if you're driving to work, you're driving to a ball game, you're driving to school, it takes gas. So why not make some money at it? You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Don't let this offer drive by. Download the free Upside app today with my limited time promo code SEASON for a limited time 25 cent per gallon bonus. That's promo code SEASON. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, leave a like. It helps the channel a lot. We have surpassed 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. Now it's the journey to 3K. Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen, guys. And also remember, you can find the show on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your pods. Clayton McCullough was fired up yesterday, man. One of the things that has been lacking from him as a manager, you have the decision-making aspect of things, which, don't get me wrong, it's frustrating in of itself. But you also have the optics of just being in the dugout. And I'm not going to go and say nonchalant, but certainly non-energetic. He's not animated at times. Yesterday's shutout loss to the Nationals, I haven't even recapped that game, nor do I want to. If you didn't watch it or you didn't check the score for whatever reason, you'll know that the Marlins scored 0 runs on 2 hits against the guy that made his team debut, Andrew Alvarez. Never heard of him. I think that might have been his major league debut. Anyway, it was a game to forget. Regardless, let's go back to the first inning. Xavier Edwards has some words. He gets tossed. Clayton comes out of the dugout and gets in the umpire's face, and he just lets him hear it. And I can't repeat to you what he said. This is a G-rated show, G-rated podcast, maybe PG. I don't know how the ratings work because I do get animated on here, but no swearing. Clayton let him hear it. He ripped him apart. A lot of F-bombs were said in Clayton's monologue, and it was needed. You can't toss out a guy in the first inning in the first at-bat of a game. Be a professional, be a man, and don't be so soft. Sometimes these umpires these days are just so soft. And Clayton was fed up, and he pretty much said that. I'll translate in acceptable language for those wondering what Clayton's argument was. And he pretty much said, hey, man, how dare you throw somebody out in the first inning? Why'd you do that? you got to be better, man. Don't do it again. That's pretty much what Clayton said. And I left out a lot of words there, but you get the idea. That's what I want to see. Fire, energy, passion. I don't care that you get ejected. I think it's this might be a hot take, but I think it shows passion when a manager gets ejected. Now you could be like Aaron Boone, who gets ejected almost every week, it seems like. But once in a while, it's good. It shows you care. It shows that you stand up for your players and you don't tolerate this. You're not going to let somebody walk all over your teammate, your player. And in this case, Xavier Edwards. I love that from McCullough. That shows me that even on September 1st, a Labor Day in which your team is under 500, you're losing the ball game. As the manager, you're not checked out yet. For Clayton moving forward, I've said I don't think he should come back as the manager. Maybe that's a little bit harsh. I still think he needs to do better with his decision making. And of course, you have to think who's ultimately making these decisions. But the other aspect of it, and why I was so disappointed in Clayton McCullough as a manager, and there's my dog taking a nap on the couch, is because of this lack of energy. Skip had it. Skip was a former player. You got to get fired up for these games. You have to be ready and defend your players. Be a guy who your players want to play for, who you feel that energy radiate off. I loved what I saw from Clayton. And honestly, I'd like to see it again before the season ends. In some cases scenario, we'll see if it happens. But credit to you, McCullough. Credit to you. Couple injury notes that I wanted to mention a little bit more in depth before we get out of here today. So rehab assignments. Jansen Junk, Ryan Weathers, and Griffin Conine, they're all going to be rehabbing this week. So Jansen Junk will be starting in AAA Jacksonville today on Tuesday. And then Weathers will be scheduled for his rehab start on Thursday. So hopefully these guys come back sooner rather than later. Junk's been a good find. Ryan Weathers, I still think, is as talented as they come and has a case to be in this rotation absolutely next season if he's healthy. Health has been the biggest concern for Ryan Weathers. But Ryan Gusto on the injured list, Edward Cabrera on the injured list. So when we get Junk and Weathers back, it's kind of a swap, 2-for-2 swap. Unfortunately, you don't want to miss Cabrera. I would have liked to see Gusto just, he'd take his lumps and just continue to work with Daniel Moskis, Bill Hazel, and develop as a pitcher. There's still work to be done there, and it's not good that he's on the injured list, but it is good, and Marlins fans should be excited that we're going to see Ryan Weathers before the season ends. I think that's always important for a pitcher in particular who hadn't pitched a lot. Think about last year with Jesus Luzardo. Luzardo goes down right before the trade deadline, late June, early July, that timetable. I don't believe he pitched again the rest of the season. In fact, I'm going to look this up. This is just on a whim because I know it tanked his draft stock, or his trade value rather. And the Marlins ended up trading him anyway. With Ryan Weathers, there's a lot of depth. I don't personally want to move Weathers. Now, if he shows up and dominates the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season, then you know what? Maybe you do trade him in the offseason and see what you can get for him. And I was right. Jesus Luzardo did not pitch again after he went down with the injury. He was essentially shut down for the rest of the season. Don't trade Weathers just to trade him, though. You have depth, but I have a feeling that Weathers is going to be really special. On this podcast, we are Ryan Weathers believers. We are Ryan Weathers truthers. And you'll watch him. Go back and watch some of his starts. When he's healthy, he's as talented as they come. I hope it's in a Marlins uniform. It feels like this journey in his career, the chapter of being a Miami Marlin, it's not ready to be over yet. And this offseason, will Peter Bendix make trades? Sure, he probably will. Cabrera won't be one of them. Obviously, Thomas White, any of your top prospects won't be. But Weathers could be a potential trade chip. Keep that in mind. I'm against it, though. I don't think you move him. And Griffin Conine. Conine will be coming back too, hopefully. Really great start to the year. Excited for him because in 2026, the opening day roster, you have Kyle Stowers potentially in left field, Jacob Marcy in center, or Stowers in right, Marcy in center. I think you can pencil those two guys in. That third and final outfield spot, probably going to have a competition. Conine, though, I believe has the inside track to that job. So I'd love to see him come up for the last few weeks and just make a statement. Weathers, Junk, and Conine, finish your rehab, stay healthy, and just ball out to close out this year. Finish on a high note. I do have an announcement before we get out of here today. Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Hawley, and Locked On's local expert. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season only on Fire TV. That's going to do it for today's edition of Locked On Marlins. I appreciate you guys always for listening. Subscribe, share the podcast, and until next time, stay safe, stay locked on, and let's go fish.